When I was 22 years old, that was in the year 1980, I sat with friends who wanted to rent me a room. And this young man had been here in India. He had been in Haidakhan, but he was not very impressed. But I looked through the pictures while having biscuit and tea. And it was a very silent experience. But I knew with all my being that I had always waited to see that face. I can say that from that moment on, things like you said, things happened, you don't know why. I started to meet people who had been there. And in the course of 1.5 years, I had met people in my home city, Hanover, that is North Germany, and we sang Arti together. And one man, an elderly man who had been several times with Babaji, he had written to Babaji a letter about his diet, and had asked if people from his meditation group can also come to Haidakhan for next Navaratri. That was autumn Navaratri, to Chilianola for autumn Navaratri 1981. And under the answer for the diet was also written, other people may also come. And I knew, like clear as the day, that I had to go. So I came to Haidakhan in 1981, on the 29th of September, and met Sri Babaji on the Gufa side, yes. Well, I can say to you, you don't show this all to people, what I tell to you. I met him, he looked into my eyes, and the man with him I walked, he said, you bring him a flower. And okay, so I was young, that I could take a flower. Whilst I was there sitting with him, the flower was already very tired, a little yellow flower. And I said, I wanted to give him this flower. And he accepted it from me. And he looked into my eyes. And in that moment, I think, he took me. And I met Sri Muniraji again. And then over the course of time, I worked more and more in my parents' home. I was there. I was secretary in Switzerland, in the Schwalbenalb ashram from 85 to up to into 86. Babaji called me there to serve. And in 86 springtime, I had a dream. And I got told in the dream that I should come back to India and that my mother will pay the ticket. In our family, we had not such big gifts. That was not there. So I was laughing a bit, and I phoned my mother and said, guess what dream I had? And she said, I pay the ticket. Yes. And so my good parents, they supported me to come 86 autumn back here. And then I met Sri Muniraj and he took me under his wings. And I stayed 9 months from 86 to 87. And then he kind of asked me what I think I do. And Vathai Karku, that is a Canadian man who was running the shop in these days, he had asked me to come back for it. So I thought, no, maybe. And I still remember to sit in front of Muniraji and how I changed inside. And I said to him, maybe not a bad idea. And he said, a very good idea. So I went 3 months back to the West, worked, I worked in old people care homes and stuff like that. Was back here 87 autumn, and out of that came 12 years. I went a short time back to the West to work, and then I came back to Haidakhan to serve there up to the year 98. This was due to Sri Muniraji's grace, who for me, of course, always had been from the beginning Babaji and him as one. And I have to tell you this little incident. In the year 81, I was involved into rebirthing work. Yeah, it was quite famous that time. I was in Belgium. And Sri Muniraji was that time in a tour in disguise through the West. That time with Dr. Rao, I think he's involved more in Vrindavan, with Nina Keddy from Deisendorf. She has a center in south of Germany, with Hargovind Baba, who was that time Martin Wolfer. And they had been through the ashrams in the West, and they had been in Holland in the first temple that was in Valentijnkaid. So people asked him to just come over, please, to Belgium to visit that festival. And he came. and go back to the story where I had met that young man, where I looked at this picture. I said, wasn't there not anything that you could tell me that was special for you in Haidakhan? And he said, yes. When I was sitting in Kirtan, and I looked at Babaji, he had so wild eyes. So I was sitting there in Belgium, and Muniraji was there. And we were singing Arti, and I sat there in the back, and I waited for a sign, you know. And Sri Muniraji suddenly looked very wild at me. So I knew, that's it. But the planning of all came not from me. So, but just to come to that point, and when I met Sri Muniraji, from the beginning I knew they were one. So, to obey him, although I must had the utmost gentle, fatherly guidance, but to obey him was actually without doubt. And so he made my stay and service possible in Haidakhan from 86 to 98. Yes, it's his grace. Mohan told me that you take care of many things. He a little bit told me that I understand your point of view. When I was in the West, of course, I was full of the life that I had in India, but I had to learn to meet the people where they are. So, for example, we had a lady who cleaned the windows in the flat. We lived in a big house, my father and me, eight parties, the old Western house. And one day, after Daddy was gone already, she phoned me and said, Frau Seidl, my name, can you show me the way to God? I said, well, and then I took a heart and I said, yes. So she visited me. She had a brain tumor, not a cancer one, but the other one, and had an accident and they had been operated. So I told her everything that I knew, but the most important thing is, and what she adapted then, was a regularity. And she said to me in the end, you know what I do? I write God a letter every morning. And my health is improving. I would say what every being that's on earth has a connection, even if they're atheists, is their divine, Whatever you love is the divine for you. So to try to see to people, they have to contact something regularly, like a friend. This is what Babaji made me understand. I'm your friend. And you please come every morning if you are upset with me or if you whatever, but come to me regularly and talk to me. Okay, I adapted these ways. They were easy for me, for children. Oh, you dress a murti, oh, that's lovely, It's childlike, very easy for me. Incense. It has not this seriosity of the Christian stuff. The Indian culture is very heart-opening, very easy to. I try to make people understand if you want to have contact, you have to be regular. If we meet each other every day, 8 o'clock, have a cup of tea together, we will become friends and know each other and listen to each other. This was for me the core. So this is with everybody different. But for me, the key was a regular meeting with that what I consider the divine force. I don't call it divine. I try really to meet people how they put it in their words and support them where they are. So there is from Babaji said, of course, we should live a life in true simplicity and love and all that. Family circumstances where it's not easy to apply to, right? I know quite well. So I try always to meet them where they are and encourage them.